Hi. The function of this video is to talk about the liver, which is the largest internal organ in your body, and that makes sense because the liver is extremely important for maintaining various types of homeostasis in your body. So there are several functions of the liver which you can read about in these slides, but many of them have to do with nutrient conversion, so converting lipids, converting proteins, converting carbohydrates. And this is really important because if your diet is not balanced, your liver can convert proteins to carbohydrates, can convert carbohydrates to lipids, and can convert proteins to lipids, and then also interconvert proteins from one type to another, lipids from one type to another, and carbohydrates back and forth in between different types. So just to sort of review that information, one of the most important things that the liver does is interconversion of the nutrient types. And to do that, your liver has to have really advanced metabolic reactions inside of its cells, and the cells that do that are organized into these almost hexagonal regions when you look under the microscope, and these are called lobules. So some of the other functions of the liver that you can read about on these slides are storage, detoxification of various harmful substances from your blood, and your liver also filters and cleans your blood when your red blood cells get too old. So your liver takes the pigments, the hemoglobin pigments from red blood cells, and turns those into bile pigments, which interestingly enough, those pigments are green colored. So bilirubin and biliverdin are those green colored bile pigments. When people have non-functioning livers, they tend to have this condition called jaundice, where their skin looks kind of yellow. And you will often see this in people with liver disease or in really small babies that don't have, their liver has not started functioning properly yet. So you can see that as jaundice. Most of what I want to talk about in this video relating to the liver is bile. And that's because we're in the section on the digestive system, and bile has a really important digestive function. So bile is made in the liver, and then it's stored in the gallbladder, which is this little greenish sac that sits underneath the liver. And you might remember from the pancreas video that bile gets secreted down into the hepatopancreatic ampulla along with pancreatic enzymes from the pancreatic duct. So you may know people who have had their gallbladder taken out. My father-in-law has had his gallbladder taken out. Last semester I had a student that had her gallbladder taken out. Often, why do we even need bile? There is a really important reason why we need bile. Bile is not an enzyme, so it's not really in your list of 11 digestive enzymes, but bile is really important as an emulsifier. So if you imagine when you eat a lot of fatty foods, when you eat a lot of lipids, we all know that oil and water don't mix, and so lipids will tend to accumulate into really large droplets in your body and in your digestive system. So what bile does is it actually takes those large droplets of lipids and makes the lipids form smaller droplets, much smaller droplets. So this is one of the components of bile, and it has a hydrophobic side that goes and is attracted to the hydrophobic lipid, and then it has a hydrophilic side that's attracted to water. So the bile helps the lipid disperse into these smaller droplets so that they increase their surface area. And by having an increased surface area, they can come into better contact with the digestive enzymes like gastric lipase and pancreatic lipase that help you digest lipids. Here. The reason that people have their gallbladder taken out is because the bile crystallizes inside the gallbladder and forms these hardened crystals that then, when they pass down the bile duct, that's very painful for the person. So if that happens continually, the gallbladder can be surgically removed, and then you don't have these components of bile crystallizing and forming the gallstones. So one of the questions that you need to focus on for your next exam is, well, these are the symptoms of liver disease. So if people have cirrhosis, if they have liver cancer, liver failure, they tend to have these symptoms. And all of these symptoms, like jaundice, fatigue, elevated blood ammonia, edema, and pale feces, all of those result in losses of these specific liver functions. So as you study, try to line up, well, what function goes with edema? What function, when you lose it, causes jaundice? And we will be discussing those during exam review, but you need to sort of prepare for that in the meantime.